basically picking all strong picks and then trying to go to the late game.
Well, it looks like Longzhu might want to mix this up right from the get-go. They're going to be banning Rise, and that means perhaps they will not be banning the big three. And SKT is going to follow up with a Varus ban for ban 2 after Jace. So the second ban of Longzhu will definitely set the tone of what we might be seeing here.
Varus being banned away, and now we'll see. Okay, well, LeBlanc is standard. We might just end up getting to see Camille or Rengar make it through.
Bang, bang.
Cupid. It is Valentine's Day.
I think those are minions. They seem to really be in love with Bang. Not the only ones in the studio. And going down to the wire for this last ban, and it's Shen. Okay.
Shen as the final ban. Bang looking a little bit tired.
Too much of that streaming, you know.
Too much of that streaming. SKT is coming off Twitch after tonight's series, maybe.
It's the last time you guys see any of them. So this last ban is also quite interesting. Do they go with the Camille? And no, they want one of them. Is it going to be Camille or Rengar as they ban out Malzahar as the third ban?
And they take the Camille, and I do certainly think that is the stronger of the two. So now Crash is gonna get the Rengar yet again. Probably has to pick their AD carry here. So either...
See Jhin again?
Could see Jhin. Ashe is the soft counter. Prey does...
Prey is just so good on Jhin.
Yeah. So now this does set up for SK Telecom to respond with an Ashe pick.
But after we saw what happened with Ashe in that first game...
Probably want to go Ashe Zyra here and deny that, because one of the main reasons that SK Telecom was having trouble last game is they didn't have a very clear-cut way to deal with the engage tools.
That's not Ashe.
That's not Ashe indeed, but
it looks kind of like Ashe, but it's not her.
One of the things is that Bang is one of the best Ezreal players in the world, and with the physical damage already on Longzhu's team composition, he should be able to just go into the Iceborne Gauntlet rather than the Trinity Force. And now there's a Singed Hover. Okay, and now Kha'Zix.
Who's it gonna be? SKT definitely having trouble with their picks, going really down to the wire with you know, all the timers, and so they do pick up the Kha'Zix.
It seems like Koma is talking a lot right now.
There's a lot to say after that first game.
Now we'll have to see what Longzhu wants to respond with. They could just have taken the Zyra here and then opted to ban supports into the second pick or the second ban phase, but instead opting for the Renekton. Now we saw earlier tonight that this didn't work out so well for Smeb. Interested to see why Koreans are showing such a liking for this matchup. Didn't really seem to go so well earlier on. But now we're in the second ban phase, and there's the Cassiopeia ban.
Also the Echo ban out of SKT. They were not too happy with Fly on that Echo in game number 1. So much burst damage, a lot of mobility too to get onto their back line. So just want to take that out, not even give it to Fly. Last ban here for SKT, what's it gonna be?
Might just be the Aurelion Soul of Fly. There's no other really clear-cut bans that you would need to target now with. MF and Zyra are both still on the table. If one of those had been banned, then could have potentially banned the other. Zyra being taken away, and this is something that I feel is a little bit of a blunder in the pick ban so far by SKT. I feel like they really needed that Zyra. because now you're forced to pick Misfortune or Karma. And while Karma has a lot of synergy with Ezreal, she's not going to provide the same level of utility that a Zyra would have provided. And if you would pick the Misfortune, it just doesn't have any synergy at all.
And we kind of saw that in game one. The Misfortune wasn't too much of you know, a factor in a lot of those fights, kind of just shooting into thin air at a lot of times. We do see the Corki is picked up here for Faker in the mid lane, and a Zillion for Fly. And that will be locked in, so it's going to be Zillion versus Corki.
Zillion versus Corki in the mid lane, and I gotta say that I really like Longzhu's team composition a lot more than SK Telecom's, just because, again, it has all of those gears that we talked about that work very well against SK Telecom. And SKT, they have, well, I don't know how to describe the top lane. I don't want to say that it's winning, but it is a Camille nonetheless. And they have the Corki in the mid lane against that Zillion pick. So there's lots of room for potential for SKT. And Ezreal, I feel like this is going to be a very perfect setup for him to just go into the Iceborne Gauntlet because of the Rengar and the Renekton and opt out of the Trinity Force. So we'll have to see what they can do here in game number 2.
SKT really needs to pull this around. Lots of different picks. They get Camille this time, having Corki too. With the Ezreal, that's a lot of poke they have on the side. Bringing in Blank instead of Peanut. They're switching it up, switching up that jungle player, and hoping that Blank can have a bit more of an impact in game number 2. So we're going to take a quick look at the compositions. We'll be jumping into the game shortly.
So a pretty, well, definitely a much more flexible team composition this time around for SKT. Eventually the Camille will be able to push back at Expection's Renekton, but this team comp is extremely aggressive and has a lot of mid-game spike. And SKT is going to need to be able to weather the storm there and sustain through it.
That Zillion skin is pretty crazy. Either way, guys, we're going to be jumping into game number 2 right now of Longzhu versus SKT.
This place stays the same. What we're gonna do in the pouring rain.
Welcome to game 2 of Longzhu versus SKT. SKT looking for something early with that Camille.
Have to be careful not to reveal themselves and give away what they're doing, and they have. Don't like the fact that Gorilla obviously made it aware that they knew that they were all there. I don't think that that was necessary. They potentially could have wasted a little bit more time, but wouldn't really matter too much in the end anyway. Support's trading some of that support item gold.
And
What
there
do you
was
think
a
of that
ward there.
chroma on that Debonair Ezreal?
I gotta get a closer look. They're not gonna give it to me.
They're not giving it to us.
Maybe in a bit. Well, we have grouping up around blue, as it looks like a blue start here for Blank.
Every time I see Corki, I think of Setzer, Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6.
I never played either of those, actually.
I think of Setzer and I think of his airship. There it is. There's that Ezreal. What do you think of that?
He looks very dapper. You know what I mean?
No.
What?
He doesn't.
You don't like it, I assume, then? Sorry. So, you were talking about the best Ezreal in the world. Well, he's
One
missed,
of them.
missed a couple of his cues already. Oh, there's number 3. Sorry, Bang. I'm sure he'll get used to that in just a bit here.
While in top lane, Expression taking some pretty unfavorable trades, managed to get a nice little chunk right there, but he has to be really careful.
Level 2, and that's an ugly trade. That's what I feel like. Those are the trades that people took against Camille's before they knew what Camille really could do.
Actually got zoned out of one of the minions for sure. That's really brutal to have happen in just the first 2 waves. Expression really falling quite behind. Yeah, he's gonna have to teleport here. Meanwhile, Gorilla and Prey basically just going even with Wolf and Bang in the bottom lane. And something that we can talk about as well is that Crash has a lot more accessibility this time around with who his laners are and being on that red side Rengar. Blank has a little bit more incentive than Peanut did last game to try to look for counter ganks.
You can see even a bit of counter jungling to start getting on the Krugs here. Right up near Fashion, who did use that teleport as you were talking about. Still just level 3 to the level 4, and uh-oh. Is he gonna face check that? That's a stun. Might force a flash here, and there it is, but it doesn't matter. First blood, flash for flash. Huni getting first blood on that Camille.
First blood's absolutely gigantic, especially because of where it occurred and how it occurred. Expression doesn't have his teleport available to him, whereas Huni still has it. And with how the lane is right now, Huni might not even need to use the teleport to come back to the lane. And that would enable him to conserve it for better teleport a few minutes from now. It looks like he's not going to teleport back to the lane. So he's going to conserve that summoner spell, and that's going to give him a gigantic advantage up in that top lane. And so far, the Renekton pick not really doing too much.
Especially when you consider as later on it's not going to be that much of a factor. As we saw to Smeb, you know, Smeb was doing a much better job earlier on and then really fell off later. So here you can see him kind of just face checking here and getting punished.
Yeah, he was face checking. He didn't really have the HP to really deal with this. He goes flash for flash, and even if somehow Huni didn't have the damage to kill him, Blank certainly would have been able to follow that up.
Might have even been better. Give a assist, some assist gold over. Well, these two are gonna run into each other. Go blow for blow and then just back off. So far in the mid lane, the Zilean versus Corki matchup, very different from the Syndra versus Echo matchup. Going a lot more even here, but Faker doing a bit of poke damage. Those two are going to pass each other, but Crash does get spotted on a ward, and Blake is going to go for it. He's level 4 to level 5. Just doing a bit of damage and not committing 100%.
Lots of poke damage coming out onto Gorilla here in bottom lane. Wolf doing a great job at that. Yeah. And now I think that all that Longzhu's waiting for is for Crash to hit that level 6 timing and then try to cause some chaos. He's on top of a ward right now. He wants to use that blasting plant, but you can see that Blank intentionally farming on the side of the map where it could be possible that he would be needed for a counter gank. Faker with a pretty cute recall right there.
But Fly sensing that he is recalling here, and Faker is going to come back as Fly using a bunch of mana to push that in heavily. Huni, I mean, he got first blood. He's ahead 15 CS. And it looks like Expression still wants to take the fight here. Going pretty hard. There's no junglers nearby, but still going to force Huni back. And this is pushing into Expression, so he's pretty happy to do that.
Is pushing into him indeed, and Crash did just get level 6. And you can see the way that Blank is actually pathing up to top lane. He's going straight for the lane. And this is because he's probably anticipating Crash to come to top lane.
And you know what? Here we go. Anyway, he's going to jump on in. There's the stun and Expression. He doesn't have his flash, and down he goes. And that's going to be a kill going to Blank this time with the assist going to Huni.
really wasn't anticipating that. And Crash almost looked like he had no intention of even coming top lane. A little bit peculiar. He got the level 6 off the golems, but then opted into taking his red anyway. A little bit of a pathing error. Doesn't matter so much now. Faker gonna get the blue buff, be able to return to mid lane, and this is gonna enable Blank now to go into farming mode. And even though Crash is up on him 2 levels, the top lane is basically really problematic. Camille getting out of control.
Yeah, it's going to be the fight of overpowered champions. Camille versus Rengar. Who can carry the team harder? Well, Camille is already on 1-0-1, whereas Rengar just 0-0-0. And Camille more of a hard carry, perhaps. Blank is spotted. His red was taken. Kind of sad for him running through an empty jungle. Might look for something Bond, or might just decide to go for a recall. Looks like he will recall.
See, there's about a 300 gold difference between the junglers. Up in top lane, about 800. Fran Gorilla basically just having a pretty even lane down there with Bang and Wolf. And now Fly is gonna, oh, okay. Well, Fly's gonna get the blue buff now. Head over to mid lane, and Crash level 8, Blank level 6. Rubber banding will help out with that a little bit.
Look at the trades right now against Expesh, and he's forced to ult here. He's trying to turn it around, and maybe this is where that Renekton power comes against. Also, there was a giant wave against Huni, and he's going to have a stun here in a bit. Going to force, actually, a teleport out of Fly, and Faker trying to pull it in here. Can Fly come in with the speed boost? Huni's got to get away. It looks like he will. Uh-oh, praying a bit of bad spot here. He does miss that flash, and down he will go. Bang! Oh, he's taking a ton of damage from the plants, and the flash in. One more hit will do it, forcing the exhaust off. And Gorilla is going to root him. Will he get away? That's really the big question here. I don't think he should, especially with Blank on his tail, and there it is. Another kill going over to Blank, who is now 3-0 on that Kha'Zix.
Blank gets yet another kill. Now he's up to 3, as you did just mention, and I feel like they could have potentially had the opportunity to just get the Ocean Drake right there, but not really prioritizing it too much. Faker
who wants that anyway?
Shoving in the wave, and it looks like they're just trying to secure some vision control, and that was a huge turn of events for SKT. Huni almost went down in top lane. Faker not quite able to get Expression, but they did get the teleport out of Fly while all of that was happening, and we can just see how this unfolds, where Prey didn't have any vision and just got caught out right there, deleted right away, and then Gorilla ends up flashing, didn't quite have the damage to kill Bang, uses the exhaust to get into the range to slow him down, autos him, but then he ended up going down just a few seconds later.
So we return to this top fight as Crash is looking nearby for an opportunity, and there he comes. Can he get the stun? The flash is going to go off for Huni. He's going to try to jump the wall here, but there comes the Rengar, and he does get the kill. And now Blank's around. Keep in mind he is 3-0, but going 1v2, especially with Fly nearby, could be a mistake. Not quite going to land that bomb. He's at full health, so does get away.
Looks like a little bit of miscommunication there, though, with Fly having been en route. A little bit confused as to why they didn't persist on chasing Blank. Even if they go 1-for-1 at that point, it's still going to be advantageous for them, given that Blank had a shutdown gold inside of him. Nonetheless, though, the gold gap has closed to just about 500. And Expression actually ahead up in top lane, although Huni does have the Trinity Force.
Faker sees something explode in the jungle. He's like, no, I want no part in that. I'm going to go back to mid, farm up. Look at that. You can see Bang and Karma just doing so much poking. Oh, boy. Corky, he's having a field day in mid. Going to force Fly to head back home. And that might just give the Ocean Drake over to SKT, as there's really no pressure here. Jhin is super low. Zillion in the mid is super low, so they're both forced back. And Blank just going to take this even in the vision of Longzhu.
Pick up the Ocean Drake for his team. Next dragon of the game is Mountain. That's going to be one that both teams will certainly want. Huni might be able to take the red buff. They don't have any intel on where Crash could be, though. Should be able to take that away, yeah.
And he's going to jump onto Huni too. The exhaust thankfully will be there, but here comes Renekton. They're not done. The flash over the wall by Crash. Oh, he just barely misses the bolas.
Wow, he missed 2.
Yeah, oh boy. And oh, had he gotten those, it looks like he should still be able to get that really nice stun out of Zillion, and down he does go. And oh, look at bottom lane. Gonna trade a kill here. Go 1 for 1, but oh, Longzhu's not done. Trying to get onto Baker here, trying to do that burst damage, but not enough. 1v2. And down he goes as well.
And the Rengar pick doing work right now for Longzhu, but SKT should be able to get the first blood turret here. I don't think that they're really in a race, so they're going to give all the gold over to Bang. Just try to accelerate him here into the mid game because he's going to be such a crucial part of SK Telecom's ability to resist. Huni actually using the teleport.
Well, you can see that Rengar is pretty low, but just forced to back off. And Blank was just a little bit too far away to turn that into anything.
So you can see this replay here, and Crash obviously having the smite. It's not even going to be a contest to get the red. Fly couldn't quite get in range in time to stun, and now the camera shifts down to bottom lane. You can see that Blank almost went down to Gorilla and his plants, and Prey, try as he might to do some nice jukes. Ultimately went down in the end anyway.
Yeah, had some pretty nice ones, but...
And then it went up to top lane with Faker. One-way trip. All the way back to the fountain right there. And then they end up trading towers, but SK Telecom, the team to get the first blood turret. So right now, I mean, when you're at this stage of the game, bottom lane's basically been opened up and secured. There's no dragon, so now you can rotate Bang to mid lane and try to directly attack Fly and Crash and demand that Crash direct his focus to mid, and then just try to stall out the game until Ezreal and Corki can begin to scale up, and then also your Camille.
They really want to get another kill onto Huni, but there is a control ward that spots both Expression and Crash. That awkward moment. Gonna clear that out and just push out the top. And Huni just gonna go back home. Expression does have a full level on Huni as well.
Expression and Crash both ahead of their opponents here. Not exactly, oh okay, Zillion's not stockpiling too much experience with this passive. SKT having quite a difficult time actually shoving waves into this mid turret here. Zillion's wave clear proving to be very effective in Fly itemizing a lot of CDR already.
Would definitely come into effect later on. He is going to be the main source of wave clear. Him and Zyra, I suppose. Jin has an okay amount. Renekton if he gets close enough, but going against Baron Buffy, it's going to be hard. We're going to have another trade here in top. Expression wants this one. Ooh. Popping that ult, nice dodge, but allows Huni to get far enough away. And nice move by Gorilla, just checking that brush. They're going to stick around. They really want to go onto this, and uh-oh, Crash is going to get exhausted. There come the Zyra ultimate, and up goes Blank, and down he comes again. So no kills, but a forced ultimate from Zyra.
And meanwhile, I'm not entirely sure what Longzhu's waiting for to try to coordinate team fights. Maybe that Prey just trying to let him continue to scale up. And interestingly enough, actually, Bang is heading into the Trinity Force instead of the Iceborne Gauntlet, even though this is a really great scenario for Iceborne.
Very interesting, and this is also a nice play by SKT. They're going to sneak the Rift Herald. There is no vision. Nobody has any idea on the side of Longzhu. If they did, they just let them have it. And it's going to go on to Huni here. We got Mountain Drake spawning in about 25 seconds. Would be pretty nice for both teams here.
Oh, Fly taking a lot of damage from that poke. SK Telecom setting up very well now for the Mountain Drake, and this is basically what they need to do. Even if they don't end up getting the Mountain Drake, it should open up the window of opportunity for Huni to be able to get that top tier 1 turret. And additionally, they could even try to manipulate Longzhu into coming into the river and then using that as a window to get mid-tier 1 if they could just zone them out right around the area that Faker's in right now.
Oh, Gorilla eating so much damage. That might be the key for them to go on in. Faker going deep. Gonna force the heal out of Prey to save Gorilla's life, but this might just get everybody out. And look at this, Huni coming in the back. There's gonna be an exhaust on him, but can Gorilla get away? No, he will not. Huni even burning that flash, but Bang is the one to pick up the kill. Prey, kind of a desperate curtain call here, is going to be jumped upon by Huni and should go down immediately. But look at the damage out of Crash. Can he commit to a kill here? It looks like he will survive, but Blank very low too. Huni eventually picks up that kill. Expression now very low, coming in a bit later. Dodging that true shot barrage, but will eventually go down. Nice stun and damage, and look at that, Expression with the Zillion ultimate. Not going to be able to pick up any kills, and down he will go. So a nice team fight win by SKT.
Huge team fight win by SK Telecom. They're going to be able to reward themselves with the Mountain Drake. Although Faker trying to dance a little bit more with Fly. Fly does have teleport and flash, so Flash is away there. He could teleport down to the Dragon if SKT take too long with starting it. Crash is about to be back up, doesn't have his ultimate available yet to him. And Gorilla got the blue buff, actually. Okay. So now SK Telecom trying to be too greedy, going for kills there onto Fly, have now actually lost position on the Mountain Drake. And so even though they ended up winning the team fight, their positioning now is horrendous for trying to contest this Drake. And that should mean that it goes over to Longzhu unless Huni gets a really good flank.
It's with the purpose that they played those plays, it almost makes me think, were they trying to get Longzhu to come in here and try to take the Dragon so they can force another fight? But either way, I guess they just group up again and take it for themselves. So it doesn't look like Longzhu wants to get anywhere near this Drake, so they're going to just hand it on over to SKT.
Looks like Longzhu didn't want to entertain the possibility of another immediate team fight. And they didn't have any intel on what was below them to the bottom right. So that could have potentially played into dissuading them from attempting to burst down the Mountain Drake there. Only one Mountain Drake though. And the next Dragon of the game is another Ocean Drake, so if you're looking at it from SK Telecom's perspective, not the worst Drake, given that they already have one, but not the best either. Trinity Force now completed for Bang, and he picks up a Quicksilver Sash. It's going to make it that much more difficult for Fly to lock him down or Crash. And we can just take a quick look at this replay here. Huni didn't put his attention on Gorilla right away, instead opted for trying to get onto Prey. That actually gave enough time for Prey to get away, cast the curtain call, and then when Crash came in, Exhaust was casted. A very good time, and Expression not able to quite pick up the kill onto Blank as fast as he would have liked. Fly just at the last second able to get the ultimate off onto Expression, but they didn't have enough damage to finalize anything. But then after this, Huni and Faker ended up wasting a lot of time trying to chase down Fly. They got his flash, but delayed the Drake.
Uh-oh, Faker's in a bit of trouble, has to dodge these shots, still might be in a bit of trouble, forced to exhaust here, already used Valkyrie, and there's Flash. Crash rather, and down goes Faker after using his flash right before he died. So kind of a bit of desperation there too, and down goes Faker.
Fly trying his best to defend against this, and he will. But Huni, wow, look at the damage that tower takes.
Yeah. One Mountain Drake and a Fed Camille.
Okay.
Yeah, goodbye tower.
Tower went down so fast, and now SK Telecom trying to get any sort of vision control over left side river, as Baron is the next major objective, and having a Mountain Drake right now and that Corki and Ezreal, they should be able to shred it quite quickly. And I'm not entirely sure if Expression can actually deal with Huni's Camille now at this point in the game, but I am very unfamiliar with the matchup and how it plays out.
Camille should be holding a bunch of gold, but it looks like even so, he's thinking about a fight, but then backs off. So it doesn't seem like Huni himself is confident to take the fight just yet. Wants to recall in a different position. Okay, he's gonna go back into the lane. So moving into the red side jungle now is SKT. Wants to get some deep wards down. They've had zero luck pushing mid against Zillion, as is the way of things.
Looks like Fly is just trying to get a little bit more gold for the Leandri's Torment. I really like that he's itemizing into that. Void Staff wouldn't give him the best of damage output against the way that SKT is itemizing. Abyssal Scepter, not an item that you would want to put onto Fly. Leandri's next best thing. The only other alternative here would be Luden's Echo.
Edge of Night, pretty good item. Trying to open that up, see if they can jump onto Prey, but Crash and Gorilla are nearby. Have to be extremely careful. There's the curtain call. Bang is making his way up the river too, but it looks like SKT wants no part of this fight. They're all just backing on off. So just gonna burn that curtain call.
Burns the curtain call, and Fly now recalled. Has the teleport available to him as well if he wants to start trying to split or maybe picking up farm in the side waves, but has the Leandri's. And Prey recalling now. Picks up another serrated dirt, some control wards. Everyone's picking up control wards now on Longzhu. And all that they're going to want to do is continuously keep turtling and stalling out the game. It's going to be extremely unlikely for SK Telecom to invest in a lot of magic resistance, and that means that the longer that the game goes, the stronger that Fly is going to get. Zillion already has absurd base damage on those bombs as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to do an incredible amount of burst damage onto pretty much anyone who gets near him. Like, anyone on the side of SKT, even Camille, who's going basically only armor at this point, also has Ninja Tabby. And still just clearing out the wards around here. Fly is in control. He is the master of the mid lane. No one will ever push that lane, ever. He can see the future with that giant clock on his back. He's like, no, you guys will not push. Although they're attempting to, again. Not sure how that's going to work out.
It's pretty obnoxious for SKT. Oh, Huni!
Oh, boy.
What, is he caught in the shop?
It looks like he's caught. Maybe window shopping, and down he goes. Very, very unfortunate to be caught in that manner. And now with the curtain call, it doesn't look like they want to commit here, but just doing a bit of damage, perhaps to open up another objective. And I mean, it's an Ocean Drake that's about to spawn, so I guess. But maybe they can go for a turret mid or something like that. Looks like they will commit to the Ocean Drake, though.
Yeah, they're going to get the Ocean Drake because you don't want to give SK Telecom two of them. And on top of that, okay. On top of that, the other thing is another dragon will end up spawning. Didn't quite get to take a peek of what the next Drake is. Especially not quite able to raise the bottom tier 1 turret. Seems like another Ocean Drake is actually going to spawn.
Really? I was hoping maybe they just hadn't updated the CG, but looks like it is an Ocean Drake. So, uh-oh, Blank's caught Gorilla here, forcing the exhaust off. But here comes Crash, putting out a bit of damage on the opposite side.
Did get his exhaust. And now it looks like Gorilla's actually very close to getting the Leandri's Torment as well. Takes up the Blasting Plant. And SK Telecom probably going to be able to finally get the top tier 1 turret here. Faker not going to really be able to go too aggressive on Prey. And if you're Longzhu, all that you really need to do is make sure that you turtle your red side jungle now, and via the curtain call, you can really easily dissuade SKT from attempting any sort of Baron. Mid turret is still extremely healthy. Faker trying to poke, and Huni found his way onto Fly.
Yeah, he's going to force that ultimate out, and this will come in. Very nice root there by Zyra. Can they get anything off the back of it? It doesn't look like it. Actually, Huni is still going deep. Going to get Zyra in the end there. And now still going on in. Everybody on Longzhu is extremely low. He does get Expression here, and he's going to stun him out. Nice bit of burst damage coming out of Wolf, and Bang, too, going to pick up another kill. Down go two of them. It looks like they may rotate towards Baron now.
Does look like they are going to rotate towards Baron, and they are going to start it. Crash is alive. Fly, though, going to have to teleport here if he wants to, so the teleport's coming through, but I think it's going to be too late. Doesn't matter. SKT pick up the Baron. They have about a 7,000 gold lead now.
This is looking like the SKT we know and love. Able to convert rather. Good plays. You can see Fly, you know, he was too obsessed with holding the mid lane. Goes down.
A little bit too far forward. Huni able to come in from the backside and force his ultimate out. And that meant that he didn't have it to give to Crash. Otherwise, Crash could have certainly gone a lot more aggressive. Camille ultimate came out, trapping Expression in. And then you can see Bang able to arcane shift forward and finish up that fight, basically. And they convert that into the Baron. And now Longzhu on the defensive.
Didn't look like Gorilla had a chance to cast his ultimate in that fight too. If he got the root into ultimate, perhaps knocking a bunch of them up would have had a better effect. And you can see the amount of damage that Huni does to turrets. And with the Baron buff, he's getting a very nice push off. Having two people forced to respond to that tier 2. And still might not be able to stop it as Gorilla backs off. What happened to Expression's health? I didn't see it leave. It's gone. It's nowhere to be found. Well, it looks like they're trying to zone them out, but Redemption, Wolf stands in the front, eats all that curtain call damage, and that should be another turret going over to SKT.
Another turret and a 10,000 gold lead now. As SK Telecom are basically all but inside of the base. Looks like Huni is going completely uncontested up and top. Expression doesn't really have the ability to duel with him, and now Faker gonna escort the bottom wave into the bot tier 2 turret. And even if Longzhu wanted to go aggressive, they don't have the ultimate on Crash, so they can't close the ground and get onto Bang or Wolf, even if they wanted to.
As you were saying before, you weren't sure about this matchup, but it really looks like Expression is having a very rough time stopping this Camille. I mean, look at that burst damage. It just disappears. Forced to ult to just come into the wave and clear it out. What about the next one? Faker's down in bot, doing a nice 1-3-1. They can't stop all these waves, and all these turrets are getting lower and lower as we speak.
This is working really well because of how far ahead SKT is right now. Longzhu doesn't have a real response to this. Faker not quite able to get the bottom turret. Ends up backing off and recalling. That doesn't matter. It was a successful Baron nonetheless. Ocean Drake coming up in about a minute here. Edge of the Night now completed for Blank. And it looks like his next item probably going to move into Guardian Angel.
Looks like it. And what is the play here for Longzhu? They need to get some really good engage onto someone in the front, maybe catch Faker or Bang. But the problem with that is both of those carries are extremely mobile. Kha'Zix is also. All of them have, you know, leaps, essentially. It's very hard to find a way to jump onto this team and catch them unawares. And especially when they're this far ahead, you have to get a fight that's in your favor. You're not going to win 5v5. So just turtle for now. Hopefully SKT can't get too far ahead with the objectives. They're probably pretty happy that this is an Ocean Drake and not a different one. And for now, for SKT, it looks like they're going to continue with what they were doing while they had Baron, which is just 1-3-1. Slowly pushing the waves all at the same time and force Longzhu to try to make a defense.
A little bit surprised that they're not removing Ocean Drake sooner just to get the Elder Dragon clock on.
Yeah.
Instead, they're choosing to be a little bit less safe and just trying to open up the base so that they can begin to get inhibitors down.
You can see that Huni is forcing a big response. Look at 4 members go up top, and Huni just jumps back. Now we're going to have a rotation from SKT too, and they're forcing a 4v4 now, which Longzhu can't win. Zillion coming over, but here's Faker. Expectation getting extremely low, and there's going to be the first inhibitor. Now Faker just going to pop that turret super fast, and it looks like the bottom turret went down too, and everything is falling apart in the base of Longzhu. Here we come from behind. Crash trying to burst down Faker, not able to do so. Prey in the back will get Zillion ulted. Huni is just wrecking house right now in the back lines, and everybody's going to be destroyed. And that should be game number 1 going over to SKT. Gorilla, no hope for him. This is the Camille show at this point. Everybody going to go down. That is a full-on 5-0 ace as SKT come back with a message in game number 2 that they are not to be messed with in this series.
Yeah. This game a lot cleaner from SKT, basically just decimating Longzhu as the game continued to go on. Everything was extremely clean from the mid to late game transition, and there was basically no breathing room, and I was really worried that the team composition that they were up against was going to pose a lot more of a threat than it did. But they stabilized across the board, and it was just a very clean transition. And even though Huni was beginning to fall behind and have some problems on the Camille, he recovered, and it ultimately was an excellent performance.
Gorilla feeling the pressure, getting a little bit sweaty in the booth, and Expectation on the Renekton.